Have you ever noticed how the mind refuses to be still? Even when the body is exhausted, thoughts keep running. They create scenarios that never happened, replay conversations that are already over, imagine losses that have not come, and rehearse fears that exist only in possibility. It feels like there is an inner voice constantly whispering that something will go wrong, even when everything seems fine on the surface. That voice does not shout, it insinuates, it questions, it unsettles. This is where anxiety is born. Not in what is, but in what might be. Not in reality, but in anticipation. And what most people do not realize is that Jesus spoke directly to this inner struggle. Not as a motivational speaker, not as someone offering positive affirmations, but as someone who understood the architecture of the human soul. When Jesus said, "Do not be anxious about anything," he was not minimizing pain. He was revealing a deeper truth about how the mind works when it disconnects from trust. Because anxiety is not simply fear. It is fear multiplied by time. It is tomorrow invading today. Jesus knew that the human heart has a tendency to get lost between what has already happened and what has not yet arrived. The mind revisits the past with regret and rushes into the future with dread, forgetting that faith only exists in the present moment. That is why he continued his teaching, speaking of birds and lilies. But his message was never really about nature. It was about trust. He was saying, "You are seen, you are provided for, you are not forgotten." Even when you cannot see the movement behind the scenes, there is purpose unfolding. Even when the chest tightens and the breath becomes shallow, God has not stepped away. But let us be honest, believing that is difficult when anxiety takes over. When the mind fills with what-if questions. What if I lose my job? What if this relationship ends? What if I am not enough? What if I fail? What if I cannot handle what is coming? Anxiety survives on the language of what if. It feeds on a future that does not yet exist. And Jesus, fully aware of this human pattern, redirected our attention back to now. "Do not worry about tomorrow," he said, "for tomorrow will worry about itself." Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. This was not an invitation to irresponsibility. It was an invitation to freedom. Jesus was teaching that tomorrow is not your battlefield. Tomorrow belongs to God. Anxiety is the weight of a day that has not yet been born. And when you carry that weight alone, it breaks you. But Jesus never came to add burdens. He came to lift them. "Come to me," he said, "all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. Notice what he did not say. He did not say he would remove every problem. He said he would give rest. The rest Jesus offers is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of peace in the middle of it. When you pray, you are not escaping reality. You are recalibrating how you perceive it. Prayer does not change God. It changes the frequency of your soul. This is something the world does not understand. Anxiety is born when the mind disconnects from faith, when the heart tries to control what only God can carry. Jesus knew this. That is why he taught about spiritual rest. Rest of the soul is not passivity. It is active trust. It is the kind of peace that allows you to act with clarity instead of panic, because you know there is a greater hand guiding the path. Think about this moment from Scripture. The disciples were panicking in the middle of a violent storm. The waves were crashing, the wind was howling, water was filling the boat, and Jesus was sleeping. Why? Because trust does not synchronize with chaos. While fear mirrors the storm, faith rests above it. While the world screams, faith whispers. While anxiety accelerates, the spirit slows down. While fear pushes you to react, Jesus teaches you to breathe, to wait, to believe. And maybe today you need to hear this. What frightens you is not the future itself. It is the fear that you will not be prepared for it. But Jesus is already in your tomorrow. He arrived there before you did. Fear is the illusion that God has left you alone. Faith is the reminder that He never has. Anxiety is like an invisible chain. It doesn't bind the body, but it paralyzes the soul. It steals today while pretending to protect tomorrow. That is why Jesus asked, "Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to his life?" Matthew chapter 27, verse 27. This was not a rhetorical question meant only for reflection. It was a declaration meant for liberation. Because the obsession with control is one of the greatest sources of exhaustion. You want rest, but you also want control. You want peace, but you also want to dictate timing. You want to trust, but you refuse to release fear. And while this inner conflict continues, the mind keeps asking, what if it doesn't work out? But the voice of Jesus responds quietly, what if it already has, and you simply cannot see it yet? Faith is seeing the invisible before feeling the visible. Anxiety does the opposite. It feels the invisible as if disaster were guaranteed. This is why Jesus did more than heal bodies. He healed minds. Again and again, He said, "Your faith has healed you." If He were standing in front of you right now, He would not condemn your anxiety. He would not shame your fear. He would look at you with compassion and say, "My peace is greater than your anxiety." Anxiety is not a sign of spiritual weakness. It is often the place where God wants to reveal that your strength comes from Him. And when you finally release that fear, something begins to shift inside. Your breathing deepens, your heart slows, your thoughts lose their sharp edges. You realize that you don't need to predict the future. You only need to trust God in the present. This is why we're walking together through this message. Because Jesus wants to heal the way you think. He wants to transform an anxious mind into a trusting one. Not by eliminating fear completely, but by teaching you how to move through it. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to continue despite it. "I am with you always," Jesus said, "even to the end of the age." Matthew 28:20. There comes a moment when the human mind reaches its limit. Nights grow longer. Sleep comes, but rest does not. The heart races without reason. Thoughts replay what could have been different. This is when anxiety becomes a prison. And this is precisely where Jesus enters. He does not wait for the waters to calm. He steps into the storm and says, "It is I. Do not be afraid." Matthew 14:27. These words seem simple, but they carry spiritual authority. His presence is the cure for anxiety. Fear makes you stare at the wind. Faith makes you look at the one who commands it. Peter walked on water until he shifted his focus. The moment he looked away from Jesus, he began to sink. This is anxiety in metaphor form. You sink whenever you try to control what was never yours to control. An anxious mind is a distracted mind. It looks at everything except Christ. Jesus never promised a calm sea. He promised His presence in the boat. And once you understand this, fear may still exist, but it no longer governs you. The heart may still beat faster, but it does not rule you. The storm may still arrive, but you learn how to rest as He did. Anxiety is faith misdirected toward the future. Jesus said, "Seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." Matthew 6:33. Notice the order. The focus is the kingdom, not the need. Faith is not born from urgency. It is born from spiritual priority. When God's presence becomes primary, everything else finds its place. You might say, "But I cannot control my thoughts." Jesus never asked you to control them. He asked you to surrender them. Prayer is not mental strength training. It is an act of surrender. It is the moment you say, "Lord, I do not know what to do, but I trust that you do." When that trust is real, something shifts in the unseen realm. Anxiety is a misaligned frequency. Like a radio searching for the wrong station. The more you try to fix it alone, the more noise you hear. But when you become still, clarity emerges. Jesus often withdrew into silence, because silence is where alignment happens. God's voice does not compete with mental noise. It reveals itself in stillness. Anxiety is loud. The Spirit is gentle. Anxiety demands immediate action. The Spirit invites patient trust. Waiting is not weakness. Waiting is mature faith. Jesus waited 30 years before beginning his ministry. He waited 3 days before rising from the grave. He understood timing. When you rush God's process, anxiety grows. When you trust his timing, peace follows. How many times have you asked God to hurry when he was preparing you? Sometimes waiting is the healing. Sometimes silence is the miracle. The modern world teaches you that anxiety means you are alive. Jesus teaches you that life is found in resting in faith. Take a deep breath right now. You do not control the air, yet it fills your lungs. That is grace. That is how God's presence works. Constant, available, enough. Anxiety tells you tomorrow depends on your effort. Faith reminds you tomorrow depends on trust. Do not let your hearts be troubled, Jesus said. Believe in God. Believe also in me. The heart becomes troubled when circumstances feel louder than promises. But when focus shifts, inner chaos begins to quiet. Science speaks of cortisol and neural pathways. Jesus spoke of faith and rest. Different language, same truth. What the soul believes, the body follows. That is why prayer changes more than words. It rewires the inner world. Jesus prayed not to inform the Father, but to align himself with the Father. Not my will, but yours be done. Luke 22:42. This is the antidote to anxiety. Letting go of control. And perhaps the deepest fear beneath anxiety is not the future itself, but the fear of losing control. But what if control was never yours? What if real strength is found in release? This is what Jesus invites you into. Release is not loss. It is trust. And trust is the doorway to freedom. There is a moment when anxiety no longer feels like worry. It feels like identity. It becomes the background noise of life. You wake up with it. You fall asleep with it. You learn to function while carrying it. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to believe this is just who you are. But Jesus never treated anxiety as an identity. He treated it as a condition that could be transformed. An anxious mind is not a broken mind. It is a mind trying to protect itself without knowing how. Jesus understood this deeply. That is why he never confronted fear with force. He confronted it with presence. Again and again, when people panicked in his presence, he said the same words. Do not be afraid. Not as a command meant to suppress emotion, but as an invitation to redirect focus. Fear grows when it becomes the center. Faith grows when Christ becomes the center. This is why anxiety feels exhausting, because it keeps the spotlight on you, your ability, your preparation, your strength, your mistakes, your future.
Faith shifts the spotlight away from you and places it on God. That shift alone changes everything. Anxiety asks, "What if I fail?" Faith asks, "Who will walk with me even if I do?" Anxiety asks, "What if I cannot handle it?" Faith responds, "You were never meant to handle it alone." Jesus never invited people into a life of self-sufficiency. He invited them into dependence.
And dependence is not weakness. It is alignment. One of the greatest lies anxiety tells is that you must figure everything out before you can have peace. Jesus taught the opposite. Peace comes first. Clarity follows. That is why he often calmed storms before explaining anything. Because a stormy heart cannot hear truth clearly. When the disciples panicked, Jesus did not give them a sermon on meteorology. He spoke to the storm. "Peace, be still." And the external storm obeyed because the internal authority was already settled. Anxiety reverses that order. It tries to explain before it trusts. It tries to understand before it rests. But faith rests first. Then understanding comes. This is why Jesus often asked questions that seemed obvious. Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? Not to shame, but to awaken awareness. Fear is not the enemy of faith. Unexamined fear is. When fear goes unquestioned, it becomes a ruler. When fear is brought into the light of faith, it loses its authority. Jesus consistently brought people back to awareness of God's nearness. He wanted them to realize something essential. God is not distant during anxiety. God is present within it. The anxious mind imagines God watching from afar. Faith recognizes God walking beside you. This difference changes how you experience everything. Anxiety isolates. Faith connects. Anxiety turns inward. Faith turns upward. Anxiety says, "I am alone with this." Faith says, "I am held in this." This is why anxiety feels so lonely. Even in crowded rooms, even in busy schedules, even surrounded by people. Because anxiety convinces you that no one truly sees the battle inside. But Jesus sees it. He sees the silent struggles, the racing thoughts at night, the tightness in the chest, the constant mental rehearsal of worst-case scenarios. And he does not step back. He steps closer. Consider how Jesus treated those overwhelmed by life. He did not rush them. He did not pressure them. He often slowed everything down. He touched. He listened. He stayed. In a world that constantly demands speed, Jesus offered presence. Anxiety thrives in speed. Faith grows in stillness. This is why Jesus often withdrew to quiet places. Not because he was avoiding responsibility, but because he understood rhythm. The soul was never designed to live in constant urgency. Anxiety is urgency without trust. Faith is patience with purpose. When Jesus invited people to follow him, he did not promise certainty. He promised companionship. Follow me. Not understand everything first. Not have a plan for every outcome. Just follow. That invitation still stands, and it directly confronts anxiety, because anxiety demands guarantees. Faith requires trust. An anxious mind wants control. A faithful heart learns surrender. This surrender is not resignation. It is cooperation with grace. Jesus did not fight anxiety by telling people to think harder. He taught them to trust deeper. This distinction matters. Many people try to overcome anxiety through mental effort alone. They try to force calm. They try to silence thoughts. They try to overpower fear. But Jesus invites you to release, not wrestle. Release the need to know. Release the demand to control. Release the burden of carrying tomorrow today. When he said, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light," he was describing a shared load. A yoke is designed for two. Anxiety is carrying everything alone. Faith is allowing Christ to carry it with you. This is why anxiety feels heavy, because you were never meant to carry life by yourself. Jesus does not remove responsibility, he redistributes weight. And when weight is shared, movement becomes possible again. Anxiety often freezes people in place. You want to move forward, but fear keeps you stuck. You want peace, but your mind keeps racing. Faith restores movement. Not reckless movement, but purposeful steps. One step at a time, one day at a time. Jesus never asked anyone to live tomorrow today. He always brought people back to the present. Give us this day our daily bread. Not bread for the week, not bread for the future, daily. Anxiety wants storage. Faith lives on provision. And provision builds trust. Each day you receive what you need, trust grows. Each day you try to store what you cannot control, anxiety grows. This daily rhythm is deeply spiritual. It trains the heart to rely instead of hoard. An anxious heart hoards outcomes. A faithful heart receives grace. Jesus understood human psychology long before it had a name. He knew that the mind finds safety in predictability, but the soul finds life in trust. That is why following him feels uncomfortable at first. It disrupts the illusion of control. But what it gives in return is far greater. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, stability that doesn't collapse under pressure, hope that doesn't evaporate in uncertainty. Jesus never denied suffering. He transformed how people walked through it. He did not promise a life without storms. He promised himself in the storm. This promise changes how anxiety functions. Anxiety loses power when it no longer defines the outcome. Faith does not say, nothing bad will happen. Faith says, whatever happens, I am not alone. That sentence alone can quiet a racing heart. Because most anxiety is not about events, it's about facing events alone. Jesus dismantles that fear. I am with you. Not, I will fix everything immediately. Not, you will never struggle. But I am with you. Presence changes experience. A child may still be afraid of the dark, but fear lessens when someone they trust is nearby. Faith works the same way. Darkness doesn't instantly disappear, but it no longer dominates. Anxiety loses authority in the presence of trust. This is why worship changes atmosphere. It reminds the soul who is present. It shifts focus from what is wrong to who is near. Jesus often healed people by restoring relationship before restoring function. He forgave. He touched. He reassured. Because anxiety fractures connection. Faith restores it. And connection is healing. Anxiety isolates the mind in endless loops. Faith breaks the loop with meaning. Suffering without meaning produces despair. Suffering with meaning produces endurance. Jesus gave meaning to pain by anchoring it in purpose. He showed that waiting is not wasted time, that silence is not abandonment, that struggle is not failure. Anxiety tells you delay means denial. Faith understands delay as preparation. Jesus waited. He allowed tension. He allowed misunderstanding. He allowed seasons of hiddenness. And yet, everything unfolded exactly as needed. This truth confronts anxiety at its core, because anxiety assumes that if something is not happening now, it will never happen. Faith knows timing belongs to God, and timing is an expression of love. A rushed gift can harm. A delayed gift can mature. God is never late. He is precise. Anxiety measures time by fear. Faith measures time by trust. This shift takes practice. Faith is not automatic. It is cultivated. It grows through repetition. Every time anxiety rises and you choose trust, a new pathway forms. The mind learns a different response. This is why Jesus emphasized daily practice, daily prayer, daily trust, daily surrender. Not perfection, consistency. An anxious mind looks for instant relief. A faithful life grows through steady alignment. This is where transformation truly happens. Not in dramatic moments alone, but in quiet choices. Choosing to pause instead of panic. Choosing to pray instead of spiral. Choosing to trust instead of assume disaster. These choices reshape the inner world. And over time, the mind that once raced learns how to rest. Not because problems disappear, but because faith takes the lead. Jesus never demanded emotional suppression. He allowed grief. He allowed tears. He allowed anguish. Even he wept. Even he felt sorrow. Even he experienced pressure. But he never allowed fear to define his direction. That is the difference. You are allowed to feel. You are not meant to be ruled by fear. Faith does not numb emotion. It anchors it. Anxiety throws emotion into chaos. Faith gives it direction. This is what Jesus offers. Not emotional perfection, but emotional grounding. As you continue listening, something subtle is happening. The pace inside you is shifting. Not because everything is resolved, but because something deeper is settling. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. Your soul is recognizing truth, and truth has weight. It quiets the unnecessary. It calms the excessive. It centers the scattered. This is the work of the Spirit. Not forceful, not loud, but steady. As you move forward with this message, remember this. Anxiety is not your enemy. It is a signal that trust is being invited deeper. Jesus does not reject anxious people. He calls them closer. And that invitation is still open. There is a quiet war happening inside every anxious mind. It is not loud. It does not announce itself. But it is relentless. It is the battle between control and trust. Anxiety is not only fear of what might happen. It is the need to manage every possible outcome before it arrives. Control feels like safety, but in reality, it is the source of exhaustion. Jesus never tried to give people more control. He invited them to let go of it. This is one of the most difficult teachings to accept, because control gives the illusion of power. It makes you feel prepared. It convinces you that if you think enough, plan enough, worry enough, you can prevent pain. But control is a fragile foundation. It collapses the moment life moves outside your predictions. Faith, on the other hand, is not fragile. It bends, but it does not break. Jesus consistently disrupted the human obsession with control. He healed on days when it was forbidden. He chose disciples who were unqualified. He walked toward danger instead of away from it. Why? Because trust in God frees you from the tyranny of outcomes. Anxiety is outcome-obsessed. It demands certainty before obedience. It demands answers before peace. It demands clarity before rest. Faith reverses the order. Obedience comes first. Peace follows. Clarity arrives in time. Jesus lived this way. He did not need to know every detail of what would happen next to remain calm. He trusted the Father completely. This kind of trust is deeply threatening to an anxious mind because it requires surrender. Surrender feels like loss, but spiritually, surrender is alignment. Anxiety tightens the grip. Faith opens the hand. One clings, the other releases. Jesus knew that clinging to control suffocates the soul. That is why he taught people to pray, "Your will be done." Not because God needed permission, but because the human heart needed release. The anxious heart resists that prayer because your will implies uncertainty.
But Jesus understood something profound. Uncertainty in God's hands is safer than certainty in your own. Anxiety assumes that if you do not control everything, everything will fall apart. Faith knows that God holds what you cannot. This difference changes how pressure is experienced. When pressure comes and you believe everything depends on you, anxiety skyrockets. When pressure comes and you trust that God is at work beyond you, peace becomes possible. This does not mean irresponsibility. It means partnership. Jesus never removed human responsibility. He reframed it. Do your part, he taught. Trust me with what you cannot do. This balance is where rest lives. Anxiety emerges when responsibility exceeds trust. Faith restores balance. This is why anxious people often feel tired even when doing little, because carrying invisible weight drains energy.
It will no longer dictate your direction. Faith reclaims leadership, and leadership determines movement. As this truth settles, notice what happens inside. The grip loosens, the urgency softens, the pressure eases, not because problems vanished, but because trust increased. This is how transformation happens, not suddenly, but steadily, not dramatically, but deeply. And this process continues. Each time anxiety appears, you are invited again. Release or control, trust or tighten, faith or fear. And each choice matters, not because God is fragile, but because your soul is forming. Formation happens through repeated alignment. This is the path Jesus offers. Not instant perfection, but lasting peace. There comes a moment when the soul stops running. Not because every answer has arrived, not because every problem has disappeared, but because something deeper has settled inside. This moment is quiet. It does not announce itself loudly. It feels like a gentle slowing, a soft exhale, a realization that you no longer need to fight the same way you did before. This is what happens when faith begins to lead instead of fear. Anxiety does not disappear overnight, but its voice loses authority. It still tries to speak. It still tries to predict. It still tries to rush you into tomorrow. But now there is another voice, a steadier voice, a calmer voice, a voice that reminds you you are not alone. Jesus never promised a life free of anxious moments. He promised a peace that remains even when those moments come. "My peace I give to you," he said, "not as the world gives." The world's peace depends on circumstances. Christ's peace depends on presence. Worldly peace says, if everything works out, then I will rest. Christ's peace says, even if things are unclear, you can rest now. This is not denial. This is trust. Anxiety is future-oriented fear. Faith is present-centered trust. And the present is where God always meets you. Never in the past, never in the imagined future, now. This is why Jesus consistently brought people back to the present moment. Today, salvation has come. Today, you will be with me. Today, give us our daily bread. Faith happens now. Anxiety postpones peace. Faith allows peace now. And this is a choice. Peace is not a personality trait. It is a spiritual decision. Not once, but daily. Every morning you choose what will lead your inner world. Fear or trust. Control or surrender. Noise or presence. Jesus never forced peace on anyone. He offered it. Come to me. That invitation still stands. Coming to Jesus does not mean having perfect faith. It means bringing honest fear. It means showing up tired, confused, overwhelmed. He never asked people to fix themselves first. He asked them to come. This is where anxiety often misunderstands God. It assumes God expects strength, but God invites honesty. Jesus did not say, "Come to me once you are calm." He said, "Come to me if you are weary." Weariness qualifies you. Overwhelm qualifies you. Anxiety does not disqualify you from peace. It invites you into it. When you come to Jesus, you do not receive a detailed explanation of the future. You receive rest. And rest is not inactivity. It is trust without tension. This kind of rest changes how you move through life. You still work, you still plan, you still act, but you no longer panic. You no longer live as if everything depends on you. You move with awareness that God is already ahead of you. Jesus did not remove responsibility. He removed isolation. Anxiety isolates the soul. Faith reconnects it. This reconnection is healing. The Spirit of God does not rush your process. He restores rhythm. Breathing slows. Thoughts soften. The heart learns a new pace. This is why prayer matters so deeply. Prayer is not performance, it is alignment. When you pray, you are not convincing God, you are reminding yourself who is in control. Prayer recalibrates the inner world. It shifts the focus from threat to trust. This is not psychological trickery, it is spiritual truth. The soul was designed to function in connection with God. Anxiety is the symptom of disconnection. Faith restores the connection. Jesus called the Spirit the Comforter, not the explainer, not the controller, the Comforter. Comfort does not eliminate difficulty, it gives strength within it. And strength changes experience. You may still face uncertainty, but uncertainty no longer owns you. You may still face fear, but fear no longer directs you. You may still face questions, but questions no longer steal your peace. This is what it means to mature in faith. Not to stop feeling, but to stop being ruled by feeling. Jesus never mocked fear, he calmed it, and he does the same now. As you listen to this message, something important must be understood. Faith is not a one-time breakthrough, it is a daily posture. Every day, anxiety will try to pull you into tomorrow. Every day, faith will invite you back to now. And every day, you choose which voice you will follow. This choice is not dramatic, it is subtle. It happens in thoughts, in reactions, in pauses. When the heart races, you choose to breathe instead of spiral. When the mind rushes, you choose to pray instead of predicting disaster. When fear demands answers, you choose trust instead of control. These choices shake the soul. Over time, the anxious patterns weaken, the trusting patterns strengthen. Not because life becomes easy, but because faith becomes practiced. Jesus said faith the size of a mustard seed could move mountains. Not because it is big, but because it is alive. Living faith grows, and as it grows, anxiety loses ground. This is not instant, it is intentional, and it is worth it. Because the peace Jesus offers is not fragile. It survives storms. It remains in waiting. It endures uncertainty. It is anchored in who God is, not in what happens. And that anchor holds. Now, before we close, take a moment. Wherever you are, pause, breathe slowly. Notice that you are still here. That alone is evidence of grace. You did not sustain yourself this far alone. You were carried. Even on days you doubted, even on nights you feared, even when anxiety whispered its loudest lies, God remained. Jesus remained, and He remains now. This peace you feel beginning to form is not imagination, it is alignment. The Spirit of God does not force calm, He invites it. If you allow it, peace deepens, not because the world becomes quiet, but because your soul becomes grounded. Now, let us close with intention. If this message spoke to you, If it reached your heart, if it slowed your mind even a little, that is not random. It means God is working in you. And growth does not happen alone. This channel exists to walk with you. Each message, each devotional, each moment of reflection, they are steps on a journey of spiritual maturity and inner healing. So I invite you now, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, stay connected. Not for content alone, but for consistency. Because faith grows with nourishment. And every new message is another opportunity to align your mind with truth, your heart with peace, and your life with purpose. In the comments, write this simple declaration: I choose to trust. Those words are not just text, they are a spiritual decision. As you move forward, remember this: anxiety may knock, but it does not have permission to stay. Peace has already been given. In me you will have peace, Jesus said, and that peace has already begun. Stay, grow, rest, and I will see you in the next devotional. Until then, remain in peace, remain in faith, remain in God.